Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from the AAC Media Days here in college football land, which right now is bringing us down to the great state of Texas in the Arlington area. And I'm here with Coach Kevin Wilson, the head coach of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, as we get set for a new era with Tulsa. And Coach, good to have you here.
Thanks, Dan. Great to be with you. Thanks for having us.
You have had such an amazing kind of path to get to Tulsa, your resume of different places that you've been able to go to and build up who you are and kind of the type of coach that you want to be. To those that don't know, I'd love for you to kind of just paint a picture of your journey to get to Tulsa and some of those stops that you had.
Well, a good question. And got to start back. We just did something trying to be some positive feedback for the teachers.
Yeah.
I started my high school coach, won a state championship, my high school coach, won 365 games, a Hall of Famer. He's passed away a couple years ago, but phenomenal, legendary coach in a little football town. Our little football town, North Carolina, we called ourselves the biggest little football town in the world. So it's a prideful place. It's near Hickory, near Charlotte, called Maiden Furniture, little photos area, Maiden, North Carolina, special football place, great, but still state semifinal, Final Eight, every team, really good program, great football tradition. Was impacted, wanted to be a teacher, wanted to be coach. Was recruited kind of in a mid-small college, Lenore-Rhine. Talking to Mike Houston, is an old Lenore-Rhine coach at East Carolina now. I was recruited by Lenore-Rhine or Davidson or Elon. Chose to go to North Carolina as a walk-on. Thought I could get a better high school teaching job with the North Carolina degree. And thought from learning from those coaches, I'd maybe learn more because it was the higher end of some coaching. Yeah. That led me an opportunity to be a GA. So I was at Carolina as a walk-on for 4 years, earned a scholarship, was a decent backup player, not a great player, but a good player, great coaches. John Matsko, my line coach, Randy Walker, Dick Crum was my head coach. 3 years GA-ing. First full-time job, Bill Hayes at Winston-Salem State, North Carolina A&T. Was flat out awesome. Thought like, what am I doing? I should be at Notre Dame. What are you doing? I'm at Winston-Salem State. I'm teaching 5 classes, taping ankles. Yeah. But got into an environment of recruiting kids. Was a phenomenal opportunity coaching at Winston-Salem and A&T. Took a high school job after 2 years. Said, hey, I've been a GA. Maybe I'm not getting a big-time job. A local school back in my home, my basketball coach offered me a chance. He was the AD he was the principal to be an AD head coach. Took over a program. Historically hadn't been good. Got the job in July, and we went 0-10. And we were quite good enough to win 2, and I screwed it up. But it wasn't a good job. But what that did convince me was in 6 months of high school, I wanted to be in the college environment. I had messed up, and I was begging to get back to Winston-Salem State or A&T. Randy Walker got Miami, Ohio job. From that point on, I basically have had 4 jobs. I worked for Randy Walker, 9 years at Miami, Ohio, 3 at Northwestern. Got hired by Bob Stoops, 9 years at Oklahoma. Was the offensive coordinator at those places and had some great teams, some great runs. Then I got the head job in Indiana for 6 years. And that being said, after Indiana, made a change. After my 6th year, I went to Ohio State. So my coaching career, it says 6 years at Ohio State, 6 years at Indiana, 9 at Oklahoma, and 12 years with Coach Walker. Having coached at Oklahoma and Ohio State, I think Ohio State is number 1, Oklahoma number 2, and winning percentage since World War II. First and second in college football. Yeah. I also worked for the team with the most losses and the second most losses in college football in Indiana Northwestern. And what I'm proud about, those teams that were good, we won a bunch of conference championships and competed for national titles. Yeah. And those teams that struggled, we went to bowl games, won a Big Ten at Northwestern, back-to-back bowl games at Indiana. So had 4 great coaches, mentored by, again, Randy Walker, Bob Stoops, Urban Meyer, Ryan Day. Had some great guys impact my career.
Yeah, and you.
Sorry for the long answer there.
No, I love it because the way that you told that story, it was exciting. It was fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like some people say sorry for being long-winded, but I was like waiting on every word there because it's a fun story to tell. So you've seen both ends of the spectrum. You've seen, like you said, the winningest program since World War II, and you've seen the teams that have struggled the most. So to see the gamut of college football, what has that taught you as a coach to be in a very unique area of seeing great adversity and then also seeing great success?
Well, first of all, I don't think the teams that are really, really good have phenomenal tradition, fan base support, facilities. I don't think people understand to be as good as they consistently are right now, how hard those kids train, practice, work, and the quality of kid that plays in those teams. Those kids at Ohio State, those kids at Oklahoma, those are some of the most respected, best young men I've ever worked with in my life. Then you go to the place that struggles, and you can sit here and complain about it, but there's going to be a scoreboard, and we got to find a way to win. and we got to control what we can control. So I think coming out of the great programs, first of all, there's a lot of, I wouldn't call it pressure, but expectation. You need to win every game, graduate every player, and they play in the NFL. So good luck.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when you're at Indiana or Northwestern and you're playing, the Wolverines, or you're playing Penn State or Michigan State or Iowa, you're expected to beat those guys. Yeah. And like I say, winning that Big Ten title in Northwestern 2000 was one of the greatest accomplishments of my coaching career and what our offense did. That Indiana teams that went back-to-back bowls, the second time in school history, that team that went to back-to-back bowls. Yeah. You take a lot of pride in the work. So what you find is the places that have all the good stuff, people don't realize how hard they work. And the people that maybe lack, don't complain about what you got. Be grateful and take care of what you have and just bust your butt to be the best you can be.
What is it at Tulsa? They may, like you said, take what you've got and don't complain. What does Tulsa have? And why did you feel like this was a good fit for you?
Well, I felt, and in some ways it was maybe challenging or hard to leave Ohio State because I had a solid, good job. But I thought I had, at my age, one good opportunity to lead a program. Didn't think we needed to prove anything. I just thought I was better served being a program leader because I thought we did a heck of a strong job in Indiana. And I won that chance. We had the highest academic grade there. We come in at one semester in Tulsa. We go from a 2.5 to a 2.92 GPA. That's the second highest GPA in 32 semesters. And all we did was make kids get up in the morning, come by the office, and we went to class with them. Yeah. We got them working hard. We got them buying in. And we got them buying into body weight. We got them buying into cleaning up your locker. We got them buying into players leading players, because I targeted 10 or 12 upper level players. Yeah. And communicated to them and said, now you get the guys to the meeting. You get the locker room clean. You're in charge, not the coaches. We're gonna create the standard. Now you as players hold players accountable. Yeah. I thought it's a great city. It's a phenomenal city. It's a great place to live. It's a young, vibrant town. It's growing. They want to claim themselves we claim ourselves as a young Austin. Being an Oklahoma Sooner guy by trade, I don't say that a whole lot. I just say we're a great, vibrant town. No disrespect to the great people in Austin, but there's parks, music, arts, festivals, great place to live, solid, great weather, tradition. We've had success and won 5-7 last year. Not coming from the bowels of football. We've had a lot of success. We've had first round draft picks the previous 2 drafts before this year. So we've had players. We've had history. It's a great academic school. It's challenging. I think coming off COVID, I don't think our school's hard, but it's so small, you got to go to class. Yeah. And I think we're just teaching an environment where our kids are going to learn the value of working hard and having fun. I think it's a great place. There's great support. I appreciate Rick Dixon and Brad Carson giving me this opportunity. We'll have some fun with it.
And, your student athletes spoke about it. So kind of a 2-parter with Braylon Braxton as well as Kendaren Ray. Why? Because they told me when you said you put together about 12 guys to be leaders on the team, why did you choose them to be a part of that and to represent here at AAC Media Days as part 1? And then part 2, when you look at Tulsa being the smallest FBS school, how is that an advantage?
So first of all, I had the players vote for their top 10 guys. I picked my top 12 leaders. And K-Ray, Kendaren, and Braxton were 2 of those guys. Matter of fact, they were vote getters number 1 and 2. And I did that within the first week of getting the job. I haven't watched tape. You guys pick, because I remember my first time I was in Indiana and we had to work. I said, break him down. And I said, break it down. And somebody says, we don't have captains. I go, you know who he is and he knows who he is. Break him down. Let's go. And so those guys were picked high. They both were in the transfer portal. Yeah. They came back. We didn't promise me anything except I'm going to put good people around them. I'm going to fight like heck to do everything I can to support them. And I think our administration is going to help me. And I'm going to bust my butt to make you the best player we can. I think in this day and age of portal, our league sometime will get poached by the bigger schools. Yeah. And like I was talking to someone the other day, well, tell me how many times that Matt guy is going to line up in the SEC and block that 3 technique from Georgia or Alabama. I just saw Georgia this year. I saw Alabama a couple years ago. So tell me how many Matt transfer linemen or American Athletic Conference transfer linemen we're going to go win you an SEC or a Big Ten championship. So a lot of the guys are getting poached from our level are going to be backups, and providing depth. Yeah. So I appreciate these guys wanting to come back because I think they can be impact players. I think K-Ray is an impact. I think he's an NFL guy. I think Brandon's got a chance to be a special quarterback. So they're 2 of our premier leaders. K-Ray's already graduated. Both of them had over 3.0 semesters. Yeah. They're strong students. They're great representatives. They're great workers. if they stay healthy, they're going to have great years for us.
And for you, like to go back to your history a little bit, to spend the time, like you said, really in four places. When you look at Randy Walker and you look at, Ryan Day as well as Urban Meyer, and you go back to, your history with each of them as well as Bob Stoops. What do you take from those gentlemen? Because obviously Ryan's had a lot of recent success here. Stoops is a name where when you say it to any college football fan, they know that last name. And then you talk about Randy Walker and the history there. And then getting into, Urban Meyer, who I had the chance to cross paths with when he came down to Jacksonville and my coverage of the Jaguars. There's a lot of knowledge and wisdom if you allow yourself to be a sponge to take from those guys.
No doubt. And first of all, you got to be yourself.
Yeah.
But what is unique? First of all, for me, Randy Walker learned from Bill Mallory, who worked for Woody Hayes. Urban learned from Earl Bruce, who worked for Woody Hayes. So some people say, Urban was hard to deal with. I go, nah. I had Randy Walker for 12 years. I knew what was expected. I knew as an assistant what he wanted me to do. And when I was the head coach and then Urban hired me, I tried to be the best assistant coach I could. When me and Ryan Day came in together and, I'm the coordinator, we're working together, and he becomes the coordinator, we're kind of working it together. I did everything I could to complement that. As a young guy, I might have been offended. Why am I not being the guy? I'm like, hey, I've had my run and we're doing well. We can win national championships. We can fight for them. Let's do your job. So the first thing I took from Randy coached the coaches.
Yeah.
So I was used to someone holding me to a standard as a coach, which Urban was a lot like. Bob, having worked for Coach Snyder, that was a lot like that. But then also Coach Spurrier, Bob had a little bit more of a relaxed posture where he was. It wasn't relaxed because he's competitive as heck, but he didn't micromanage everything. He expected you to do your job. And if you didn't, he would talk and deal with you directly.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like, for example, working long doesn't make you better. It's getting the work done.
Yeah.
I even told someone the other day, someone had called, my daughter's working in the office, says, your dad come back to the office. I said, if your work's done, leave. Don't I mean, if your work ain't done, you better get it done. I mean, get your job done. Do your job. We're not guarding desks. We're going to work hard. We're going to work smart. I thought Bob had a knack for that. And I thought both he and when you take Bob Steele and then Urban's competitive juice, Ryan's competitive juice, and there's some uniquenesses, and you see how it all works, but they're in their own ways, their own depth. You take different things from practice or things you want to emphasize. Then I've taken some things from Ryan and from Urban, but I still got a little bit of Randy Walker in me too, because I was around that guy for 18 years. So I've been very blessed to be around some special coaches. I'm trying this last run. I think we have a chance to build a quality program and be on some solid ground, a great school in a great city, and I'm gonna fight like hell to get it done.
You said that this last run for you thought it was a good opportunity for you to, take over and be a head coach here at Tulsa. How do you put your own unique stamp on? Like you said, you take pieces of these coaches. What's the unique Kevin Wilson stamp? And when you say this one last run, can we have longevity with you? Can you stick around for a while?
Well, I'm getting kind of old enough. I had my son was playing at Ohio State, and one of the younger coaches said, "Are you going to retire when your son graduates?" And I said, "I'm going to retire the first day this is work."
Yeah.
So like you said, there's some energy. If I don't have that energy,
yeah,
and I'm working,
yeah,
then you ain't seeing me. All right. But as long as we got that, I don't plan on coaching until I'm 80 or 80. I'm hopefully the good Lord gives us tomorrow and this year. But as long as we're in great health, as long as we can impact lives, as long as we can build a program. Again, I think we're in a day and age with these kids. This is a great generation of kids. They need some degree, some discipline and structure, but they also need a positive vibe. And the world we're in as an older coach, you got to work like heck to figure out ways to connect, to find a positive way of holding a standard and expectation that you want. And I think, in my mind, I'm a way better coach than I was years ago. Not because I'm older, I guess because I'm older, but this generation forces you to do a better job of connecting with your players. It's a daily job. Our job is to recruit the best players we can, and once we get them, connect and develop them the best we can, on and off the field. And I'm coming in a situation academically where our team has struggled a little bit. Yeah. We're going to work like hell to not only be a good football team, but we're going to work in a strong way to represent our football players are going to represent our school as great students. And we're going to bust our butt to do that.
Before we have a final note here, Coach, for this very unique world that we live in collegiate athletics. You've gotten to see so many different years, but 10 years ago, this conference of the American was built out of a massive realignment. Now, 10 years later, it reared its head again. We see Oklahoma make a move like you, and you obviously your connection there. Oklahoma and Texas moving on to the SEC eventually, seeing UCLA and USC become Big Ten schools, which is very geographically crazy to think about. But to see all these things happening, and amidst this all, to see UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston leave the American, and then have 6 institutions come in, and this being their first, obviously, AAC media days and first season here for Rice, for UNC Charlotte, for UTSA, UAB, FAU, and North Texas. What does college football look like to you today? And what does this conference look like to you?
I guess based on where you're at, you sit on different sides of the stool and all the good and bad. I think there is a lot of good for our game right now. I see some kids, I think, across, you look at a lot of the best teams, when you pull up academic performances, you see some of the best teams have the highest academic ratings. You're seeing some kids get financially rewarded, which is in some ways I think extremely great and rewarding. I think that for kids to have the chance to move around is makes sense. If that's, I mean, we're an age, what's best for the kids, but sometimes what's best also is being in a place and liking where you're at and knowing it's going to suck sometimes. It's going to be tough days, hard days. It's not going to go the way you want it to keep battling. I use Joe Burrow as an example. He spent 3 years at Ohio State battling.
Yeah.
Didn't win the job Wayne Haskins did. But by the way, 3 weeks of 3 years of Joey Bosa and Chase Young and guys chasing around the practice field, throwing to Terry McLaurin and great receivers and got great defensive backs there, Conley and all those guys back there that, you know, that are going. I mean, the guy got better.
Yeah.
And when he did become the guy, he went to another spot that he developed. So I think there's a common sense we got to find with the portal. So I think our game, I love our game. I love where I'm at because I think I'm at a level I used to get to coach a little bit. I'm not out in the portal war trying to find how much money I can get to get a guy. I'm just trying to get guys that want to go to school, love a place, coach them hard, and then in time, if hopefully we can keep them. And in the higher level places, it's 3 years go pro. In my place, it might be 2 or 3 years. Maybe somebody poaches you to a bigger conference. I do think we're going to get to maybe a 3-tier deal, a big division, a middle division, and an FCS division. Because I think there's going to be some teams in the power conferences are going to have to figure out if they want to ante in or maybe gear down. Yeah. I think some of us in this quote 2nd tier per se, as those 2 or 3 super conferences are going to pull. I actually fell back in Oklahoma in 2008. I thought OU, Oak State, A&M, and Texas were going to SEC. And there's going to be 8 teams. I thought like Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa State, them guys were going up into the Big Ten with Notre Dame. And I thought the Big East and the ACC was going to get together with the Syracuse events. And I thought Texas Tech and Baylor and Colorado were going to Pac-12. We're going to have about 18 teams in 4 brackets. I felt the first December week we should have 8 teams playing, and those winners are your final 4. And we didn't have to add a week. Make championship week the best 8 teams, and if 2 of you have to be in the same division, we'll beat the other team in your same division. And so we don't have a parity of historically put one team on one side, one on the other. Yeah, we're getting there. Looks like it's going to be maybe a 50-ish, 48, 50, 55 top level. Then my deal is, okay, some of those teams are right are considered the upper 64 or 5. Yeah, where do they fall? And some of us, where do we go? And how does it blend together? But I do think there will be an attraction for maybe a combination of some of our leagues that we can compete for another level of national championship. I think there's a TV market for that. Yeah, I'm excited this year for our league. The Big Ten is out of the ESPN. The SEC is not in there, so we're getting more ESPN exposure in the American Athletic. So I am fired up. Yeah, great for ESPN. We look forward to several games on that network. I'm fired up. Well, and you brought up something that I find, and with all your expertise, it's great to hear it. And it's nice to hear a parallel because I have been saying for a while, a couple of years now, that the SEC was going to go off on their own. I think the Big Ten made the move that they made to get the West Coast, because if you look at a map, the Big Ten comes from the northern part, the SEC from the southern part, and they touch. So if they were able to bond and then they bring in these West Coast teams,
they can argue that they have most of the United States covered.
West Coast.
Yeah, I know. I'm showing it on here to these guys. I think it's flipped.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
So I know to me it's over here. Yes, but when you look at that, you could be my compass coach. And so, but you know, when you kind of break it down that way and looking at it over the last couple of years, I said exactly what you said. I said there's going to be a top. There's going to in what we have in Division I football, we're going to have that first division and then another one and then the FCS. So it's the same thing that you said. I think there's going to be a couple up there.
Thanks. For example, I grew up in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So what's North Carolina, NC State, Duke, Wake, East Carolina, App State? What's your commitment level?
Yeah.
Right now, 4 in the ACC, 2 are not. I think one Sun Belt and East Carolina's with us.
Yeah.
But those are 6 quality teams. If you want to go into that one bracket, I don't think it's going to be with attendance. I think it's going to be the amount of money you're committing to your program for facility, for player development, for player well-being, for psychology, for all that thing. How much are you putting in your program to be top end?
Yeah.
If you don't want to do that, then you're going to look at a little bit more than the true college experience. And I think our level will be like college football was 10 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
This big bracket is going to be what college football is going. How much money can we get? How much does it cost to get him? What are we paying them?
Yeah.
And there's name, image, likeness. So those are the power players. And then the mid-level will be the ones that are the developmental programs, even the big-time programs. And I mean, I'm telling you, Ohio State, I know for a fact, we develop those players. There's more 3-stars getting drafted to Ohio State than anywhere. That is a developmental program. By the way, that gets great recruits.
Yeah.
So it's still a developmental sport. I think you're going to see with this portal and NIL,
Yeah.
there's going to be a separation of how much money you get in the poker game. There's different levels of the poker table, right?
Yeah.
Or the blackjack table.
Yeah.
So which table do you want to play at? I think we're going to get to that.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely going there. And I've seen the writing on the wall. I think the SEC will get to 18 or 20. And once that kind of shakes out, I'm interested to see what the ACC is going to do, because I think the worst action right now is inaction. We've seen the Big 12 make moves. We've seen the Pac-12 try to figure something out. We've seen the SEC and the Big 10 make moves, and the
Not being
ACC,
greedy, you have to be proactive.
right.
Can't be greedy. You need to be proactive.
And I think that right now, when you're not, because the American has been, the Sun Belt has worked to be proactive. And if you look at the SEC and you look at the states that they're in, and you look at the American and you look at the Sun Belt, the American and the Sun Belt are following that same area. And of course, the American has some teams up north, but there's that certain area of the southern middle to the southern east that we're seeing really work into those markets. And if you're going to follow the model of some of the things the SEC is doing, not a bad model to follow.
Yeah, and I don't know if our leadership is trying to follow that model. I think years ago when people started talking about this, and they talking about, I think you looked at the 64 basketball team. I don't think it has to be even brackets.
Yeah.
You have to be 18, 19, 20, 23, whatever that magic number is.
Yeah.
Figure out how to play them together and get your biggest dogs and best one at the end and play for it all.
And I think there could be a college football playoff 1 and 2, which is what we were talking
And
about.
I think from what I've gathered, although I don't have the right, but I think it's been discussed at the TV level where I think they feel there's a market for that, where it's financial. It wouldn't be the same value as here's the SEC championship game, here's the SEC or the Big Ten game of the week or Big Noon game of the week. But I think there's a market for those games, because a lot of our schools we're in Tulsa. You got teams, you got SMU and North Texas, you got San Antonio. You got right here, you got Tulane in New Orleans, you got South Florida, you got Florida, you got schools coming out of Metropolitan, UAB. So I think there's some TV marketability, and it'll be interesting to see as this moves forward, which teams in our league, us being one,
Yeah.
do we want to participate now? And are you willing to ante up to get in that one? So I think there's going to be in time, some degree. SEC, I don't know. SEC is so strong. I don't know if they're setting the standard that everyone's following that. I think the Big Ten leadership is trying to make sure to match that. And then those other three now are trying to figure it out. I think our leadership has done. I love the way they put our conference together. I'm excited to see what this year shakes in the next couple of years for our people.
That coming here from Kevin Wilson of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, their head coach here in a new era for Tulsa, a new era for the American here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Coach, I definitely appreciate you.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate your time. Awesome.
Thank you.